So today we're going to be installing a cold air intake on this 2016 Ford F-150 EcoBoost. This is for the AFE Magnum Force Stage 2 dry cold air intake. This is the best cold air intake setup for making power on these EcoBoosts, because you go from this skinny, narrow stock opening to two of these, and one of these dual pipes is larger than the stock pipe, so you can kind of see how you're going to be moving far more air. And our goal is to push this truck to 450 horsepower with a combination of this cold air intake and a couple other things like MagnaFlow exhaust and performance tune. See the video description below for a link to where you can buy this exact setup. First step is to disconnect the factory air box. 7mm socket, loosen the hose clamp, and flick these two retaining tabs out. Up, pull towards you, get out of there, snatch out the old air filter. Come here to the back of the intake tube and disconnect the intake air temperature sensor. See, there's a little tab you have to depress right here. You don't have to take this tape off. Loosen this hose clamp with 7mm. And then come to the back here and loosen the other hose clamp. It is hard to see. Now just grab this assembly, start pulling it out of there. Now to remove the IAT sensor, take a screwdriver and lift up on this gray tab. You have to lift it up over that little notch and then rotate it. Rotate it in the opposite direction that that arrow is pointing. And then just grab it and pull it out of there. Take your cat's foot and pop out these clips that hold this wiring harness to the intake box. Just set this harness aside. Alright, let's take a look at the contents of our cold air intake kit. Intake tube. Insulating stuff. Some connector tubes. This and this housing bracket. Take the filter mounting bracket, and notice it has these two tabs that gotta grab into these openings in the intake box. So you kind of hook it back there, that in place. That in place, and then you run these filter box clips, lock them in, take the filter, remove that hose clamp, get that in there, and just loosely install the hose clamp for now. 8mm. Just tighten it to where it won't fall in there. Do the same thing for the other filter. Now remove the engine cover. First remove the oil cap. And then just pull up on this. Get out of there. Put the oil cap back on. Now you have to remove this vent tube that goes from the driver's side valve cover to the turbo inlet tube. There's a little tab on there that you pull outward and then just lift up on it. That out of there. There you can see better how that little release tab works. You just slide it outward, kind of like that. There's no need to remove it from the valve cover side. I just did it for illustration purposes. Go through and find the hardware bag and take this giant syringe looking thing, take a Sharpie or something and make a mark on the top of the tube that indicates which end is this pointy side, because this cannot rotate once it's installed in the turbo inlet tube. So we follow this, make a little mark, doesn't have to be perfectly dead on. Now insert this vent tube with the open end facing turbo inlet, which means this reference mark that you made faces toward you. Insert it into this vent tube that you remove this hose from. And push it in all the way until it bottoms out, that little knurl. Now just take the hose, get it back on there, push it in until it clicks. There you go. Now it's time to take these pipe adapters and get them in place. Start with the driver's side here. Take the bag of hose clamps and get one of the large hose clamps and just ring it over the tube. Tighten it down, 8mm. This one you can crank down all the way. And take this other pipe adapter and install it on the passenger side tube. Just hoop this hose clamp over. This one you can crank down all the way too. Now find this little rubber grommet in your hardware bag. Insert it into this hole. And push the intake air temperature sensor into that grommet. And this is kind of tricky because this isn't exactly perfectly round. It's got jagged edges, things like that. Just work it around there and sort of rotate it while you're pushing in. Make sure it's secure and that the grommet didn't roll inside. Yep, looks good. And take these two hose clamps, just hoop them over, don't tighten them down yet. Now take the back intake tube, orient it to where IAT sensor is facing the back, and first insert it into the intake tube. Just get it in there, and then get the other end into the filter, like that. And then run the hose clamp down, but don't tighten it down completely yet. Want it just enough to hold everything into position, but can still move around. And snug down the filter side hose clamp, but don't tighten it completely yet either. Crossover tube, get it on here. Take its hose clamp, slide its hose clamp on. Snug it down, but don't tighten it yet. And take the other hose clamp, slide it on. Now take the front tube, hook it into the inlet down there, push it into the crossover tube, and then finally push the filter on. Now wiggle and shake everything until it's in its comfortable position. Nothing's too bent or binding or rubbing on anything. And once you're satisfied with all that, tighten down all the hose clamps completely. And give these filters some support. And you have to kind of push the tube into the filter to get enough room for the hose clamp to bite onto the tube. Same thing for the back one. Now reconnect the intake air temperature sensor. You'll hear a click when it's fully inserted. Take this insulator strip and mold it on the outside of this filter box. Kind of tough to bend around the corners, but and remove the oil cap. Put the engine cover back on. Might have to bend it around the new tube. Make sure those back hooks go in correctly. Push down on those grommets. Put your oil cap back on. Give everything a good shake. Make sure all the hose clamps are tight and everything is where it should be. Nothing's rubbing or banging or anything like that. Yep, looks good. And that's it. You're done.